I used to think the worst thing a boss could take was your paycheck. Then Cassandra Vale took my husband, my job, and my kids, cleanly, professionally, like a surgeon removing something she'd decided was unnecessary. I'm Sonia Alvarez. And at 2:11 a.m., last Tuesday while I was packing a decade of my life into a banker's box, I found a safe deposit key in my mother's tea tin. What it unlocked wasn't just money. It was the reason Cassandra needed me gone, and the proof that my late Aunt Mags had been waiting for this moment since 1999. Before we dive in, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. I trust you have done that. Now let's begin. The key in my hand was my Aunt Mags's last gift, wrapped in a letter that said, "If winter ever finds you, take this key. Your work was never just your work. I protected your part when someone decided you shouldn't have one." Inside the safe deposit box, she'd prepaid for 20 years. I found original documents proving that the quiet lab accountant who died 5 years ago owned 18% of the company that just fired me, and patent escrow rights that could freeze Cassandra's $900 million merger 3 days from now. Estimated value of what my aunt left me, $82 million. Estimated value of what Cassandra stole. Everything I thought was real. You want to know how a woman goes from managing $40 million wind grid projects to sleeping on her mother's couch? How someone loses their husband to their boss, their kids to fabricated CPS reports, their career to performance write-ups that were templated before the incidents allegedly happened? Let me tell you exactly how it happened, because the ending of this story isn't what you think. My husband Luke used to say I trusted systems too much. "Sonia," he'd say, pulling weeds in our backyard while I colour-coded the family calendar, "you think if you follow every rule the world plays fair. That's going to cost you someday." Funny how the person warning you about systems can be the one Cassandra recruits to dismantle yours from the inside. Cassandra Vale was more than just my boss. She founded Helix Terra, raised $200 million, got profiled in Fast Company as a clean tech visionary who mentors women into power. Her TED Talk about battery storage has 8 million views. I'd worked for her for a decade, delivered every project under budget. Believed her when she said I was leadership track. My daughter Ava is 10 and wants to be an engineer because she watched me build things. My son Ben is 7 and draws blueprints of imaginary cities. At least I thought they had a mother who showed them you could be excellent and still be kind. Turns out they had a mother being erased by HR documents written in the future tense, and a father who was promised an executive title if he played his part convincingly enough. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom in a darkened office while your phone buzzes with custody notifications. Sometimes you find things that were hidden from you your whole life. Sometimes a quiet aunt who never made a scene leaves you more than money. Sometimes she leaves you the original cap table from 1996, the convertible notes that Cassandra forgot to honor, and a paper trail showing your entire career was built on stolen ground your family paid for when no one else would. That tea tin I found, it was hidden in my mother's apartment after she had a minor stroke. Aunt Mags, Margaret Reyes, lab accountant, first check into Cassandra's battery prototype, the woman everyone called sweet and didn't understand business. She died 5 years ago of pneumonia, visited once a month with cookies, asked gentle questions about my projects, never once told me she'd funded the company that employed me. Everyone thought she was just proud. Turns out when you document everything in triplicate and prepay a lawyer for 2 decades, people call you paranoid right up until the documents prove you saw the con before it started. The banker's box still smelled like dry erase markers. February in a corporate office, and I'm stacking framed crayon drawings on top of a stapler while my phone vibrates 3 times. Administrative leave, custody hearing, supervised visitation only. I'd sold nothing yet. My wedding ring still on my finger, worth whatever a decade of belief costs when you realize it was a long audition. But as I held that key in my hand, as I read Mags's note about someone deciding I shouldn't have my part, I realized something important. Cassandra sent an all-staff email the next morning saying I'd chosen to pursue other opportunities. She was wrong about the choosing part, wrong about the other opportunities too, once the SEC got the whistleblower packet. But the part about me disappearing quietly, the part about signing an NDA and taking a severance that would gag me forever, that version of Sonia did die. The woman who believed hard work and integrity would protect her, who thought her marriage was a partnership and her job was merit-based, who trusted that the legal system defaulted to fairness. That woman died in a conference room at 2:11 a.m., holding a key that unlocked a 20-year-old conspiracy. The bank branch Mags listed was 14 blocks from Helix Terra headquarters. 14 blocks between the job I'd lost and the inheritance that could destroy the woman who took it. 14 blocks to walk with nothing but questions and a growing suspicion that my career, my marriage, and my children's sudden custody evaluation were connected by threads I'd been trained not to see. My name is Sonia Alvarez. I'm 36 years old. Last Tuesday, I was a project manager with a color-coded calendar and a belief that competence would be enough. Today, I'm going to tell you how I discovered that my aunt spent 2 decades building a legal fortress around the money she gave a charismatic founder. That my husband was coached with overstressed mother talking points and promised a fake executive role as payment. That the woman who took everything from me was the daughter of the business partner my aunt watched steal from women before. And that my aunt made sure I'd have the one weapon Cassandra never expected. Proof, paperwork, and the standing to name what happened in a court that couldn't ignore it. This isn't a story about revenge. It's a story about documentation. About how sometimes the world strips everything away from you so you can finally see the inheritance you were standing on all along, and the woman who loved you enough to make sure you'd have the key when winter came. Arthur Halverson met me at the bank branch Thursday morning, a semi-retired attorney with Mags's looping handwriting all over his business card. He didn't make small talk. The vault attendant opened box 447, and Arthur lifted out an accordion folder that weighed more than hope should. Inside, convertible notes dated March 1996, signed by Cassandra Vale when she was 24 and working out of a rented lab. IP assignment schedules, cap table snapshots Mags had annotated in pencil, rolled to shell entity, no notice sent. And a side letter notarized, granting escrowed enforcement rights over the patents that powered every grid-smoothing product Helix Terra sold. Arthur's calculator came out. 18%. Current valuation, $82 million. Your aunt knew Cassandra would try to paper her out, Arthur said. She documented everything twice. The paper trail read like prophecy. In 2003, Cassandra moved assets into Helix Terra Systems LLC and forgot to notify early note holders. Mags had kept originals, recorded statutory notices, and paid Arthur a monthly retainer to enforce them if I ever needed it. I needed it. By noon, 2 others found me. Priya Chen, former HR manager, arrived with a thumb drive, a cached SharePoint folder labeled Risk Mitigation, Ops. Inside were templated performance write-ups with my name inserted before the incidents allegedly occurred. The dates aligned with board discussions about grooming a new COO. Diego Reyes, no relation to Mags, but he'd called her once when he got purged, brought time-stamped lab logs showing backdated option grants and manipulated prototype data in investor decks. Arthur traced the CPS tip. The concerned citizen was a crisis PR contractor on Cassandra's retainer. Her emails were clinical: trigger welfare check, leak family instability, neutralize lawsuit risk. Then Arthur slid me Luke's texts with Cassandra. overstressed mother talking points, a promised director of clinic integration role, coaching notes. I stared at my husband's words and felt nothing. Arthur's phone buzzed. He checked the screen, then looked up. Helix Terra just calendared an emergency board meeting. Friday. Merger vote. 72 hours to assert Mags's rights, or watch Cassandra cash out and disappear. Arthur worked through the night. By Thursday afternoon, he'd drafted a notice of escrow enforcement on the patents and a cap table correction petition. Couriers hand-delivered copies to every board member and Helix Terra's outside counsel. No phone calls, no negotiations, just documents that couldn't be ignored. The whistleblower packet went to the SEC Friday morning, redacted exhibits showing backdated options, misleading investor decks, and the crisis contractor's emails outlining the CPS weaponization plan. Arthur included a cover letter. 3 sentences. No drama. I met Luke at a cafe 2 blocks from his clinic. Neutral ground. I slid a timeline across the table, his texts with Cassandra, the fake COO role, the consultant contract with no equity, then the board memo discussing a hedge fund backer's son for the real position. You a cover, I said. She's replacing you Friday. Luke's hand shook around his coffee cup. He'd believed the promises. He'd believed he was special. She used both of us, I said. The difference is I have documentation. He looked at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. By Friday morning, Priya forwarded Slack exports, Cassandra ordering a T to create cleanroom accounts, demanding selective deletion of message threads. But Helix Terra's compliance system had already flagged the purge attempts. Every deletion logged. Every archive preserved. A reporter called offering front-page placement. I declined. Splashy press would let Cassandra spin the narrative, claim retaliation, muddy the facts. I wanted regulators and the board to act first. Quietly, lethally, on the record. Arthur's phone pinged at 4:47 p.m. Outside counsel's email. The board had added an emergency agenda item for Friday's meeting. Patent escrow claim and governance review. Then my phone buzzed. A forwarded text from Luke. Cassandra, need to see you tonight. Private. Important we align on messaging before tomorrow. She was trying to lock down her shield before the board convened. She was 12 hours too late. Friday's board meeting started at 9 a.m. Arthur's filing hit at 8:47. Outside counsel advised a standstill. They couldn't vote on a merger while patent rights were disputed and an SEC inquiry loomed. By 10:15, the board suspended Cassandra pending investigation, appointed a special committee, and authorized a forensic audit. The SEC formalized its inquiry that afternoon. Helix Terra's IT compliance logs showed Cassandra had attempted to purge archived messages at 11:32 p.m. Thursday, every deletion timestamped, preserved, flagged. Then Arthur's paralegal found the foundation link. The judge who'd granted Luke emergency custody sat on a local non-profit board. Treasurer, Cassandra's college roommate. Donation records showed Helix Terra had wired $50,000 the week my hearing was calendared. By 3 p.m., the judge recused himself. The emergency custody order was vacated. New hearing scheduled with a different judge. Luke called me at 4:20. She lied, he said. His voice was hollow. There's no COO role. There never was. He'd just learned about the hedge fund backer's son. He was realizing what temporary custody would cost him when the truth came out in court, that he'd helped fabricate an unfit mother narrative for a job that didn't exist. I'll sign whatever you need, he said. Arthur drafted the affidavit. Luke signed it Saturday morning, turned over his phone, detailed every coaching session Cassandra ran. He was trying to save his relationship with Ava and Ben. I didn't forgive him. But I accepted the sworn statement. I issued one public statement. Patents frozen, investigation underway, no further comment for the children's sake. Cassandra was escorted out of Helix Terra at 2:11 a.m. Sunday, the same time, the same exit I'd taken. Security watched her pack a banker's box. She made one call in the parking lot. I later learned it was to a hedge fund ally. The word nuclear appeared in the transcript. The new family court judge asked why I hadn't simply taken the 82 million and disappeared. Because money doesn't raise kids, I said. Truth does. I presented facts without venom. Dates, documents, the manufactured HR file, the CPS contractor's emails. I asked for stability, primary custody restored, structured parenting time for Luke, and guardrails keeping Ava and Ben out of Cassandra's orbit while criminal charges were pending. Ava squeezed Ben's hand in the gallery. Luke, tearful, told the court he was ready to accept accountability, attend therapy, and co-parent honestly. The judge restored primary custody to me. Luke got scheduled time. Clear, stable, supervised initially, then solo, as trust rebuilt. The corporate settlement came 2 weeks later. Sonia Alvarez, or her désignée, installed on Helix Terra's board, no NDA on misconduct. Cassandra faced investor fraud and evidence tampering charges. She resigned, surrendered equity above founder minimums. The patent escrow rights stayed with Mags's trust. The cap table was corrected, audited, made public. I declined the CEO role. Instead, I built the Mags Fund, seed capital for women technologists with ironclad governance structures and clean documentation from day one. The fridge calendar returned to ordinary: soccer practice, orthodontist appointments, parent-teacher conferences. Luke picked up the kids Wednesdays and every other weekend. We were civil. We were co-parents. We were no longer married in anything but paperwork. The blue tin sits on a kitchen shelf now where I can see it every morning. Last week I dropped in a new note, written in my own hand, addressed to Ava and Ben. If winter ever finds you. Truth is the key. Document everything. Trust your instincts. And remember, the quietest women in your life might be the ones building fortresses you'll need someday. Love, Mum. Underneath, I tucked Aunt Mags's original letter. Some inheritances aren't money, some are maps.